you've seen celebrities like a Kevin Hart. He has like invested in so many brands, and now he's building his own. You see people like a Serena Williams. She has like her own VC fund, but she actually also just launched her own beauty brand. You have so many. Kim Kardashian, she's launching her own private equity fund, but at the same time, she also launched Skims, one of the most successful celebrity founded brands. So you see that all these celebrities, besides them investing, they're also thinking about launching their own companies.
Hey everyone, this is Prashant and I'll be your host for the VC 10X podcast. And today we have Scott Vandenberg with us. Scott is the founder and general partner at Hotstart VC, a venture capital fund that invests in celebrity led brands. In this episode, we talk about what are celebrity led brands, what edge do celebrity led brands have over traditional startups, why celebrities are starting their own brands, some popular celebrity led brand success and failure stories, how they evaluate a celebrity led brand for investment, the impact celebrity led brands have on the wealth of celebrities, and lots more. So, without wasting any time, let's dive straight in. This episode is sponsored by my own podcasting agency called Podcast 10X, where I help VCs start and run their own podcast. While I was running VC 10X, this podcast that you're listening to right now, I asked my VC guests, why don't you start your own podcast? I mean, it's the best form of marketing for VCs. As they say, VC is a people play more than even a capital play. A podcast enables you to put your people at the front, your portfolio founders, your partners, and co investors. It's a great way to build a brand and win competitive deals. It activates all your marketing channels in a single shot, be it YouTube or blog post or newsletter or social media. Everything gets activated in a single shot. And I get the same response from all the VCs that it's a lot of work and we don't have the time for it. I said, all right, let me handle the work for you from pre recording, editing, publishing to making social media clips. All you have to do is show up on a call, hit record, do the recording using the well researched outline we provide you with, and you're done. We handle everything else. You know what they said? All right, let's give it a shot. So if you are a VC and want to up your marketing and branding game, I'd love to work with you. And if you're thinking there are too many VC podcasts already, remember there are way more VC firms out there. And if you're not standing out, you're losing out. So if you want to work with me on starting your podcast, go to podcast10x.com and book a call today. I'll add the link in the description and show notes below. Look forward to working with you. Hey Scott, so good to have you on the VC 10X podcast. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. What about yourself? Thank you for having me.
Very well, thank you. And good to have you here to talk about all things celebrity led brands. And I'm very excited for that conversation. But to first start things off, can we have your introduction first and a little bit of background about yourself?
Sure, yeah. So my name is Scott Vandenberg. I'm Dutch, living in New York. I'm the founding partner of Hotstart VC, a new venture capital fund that invests in brands founded by celebrities and creators.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how did you get into this space and investing?
So about 4 years ago, I founded a company called Influencer Capital. And basically what we do is we structure equity deals between startups and influential people, whether they are like influencers, creators, athletes, actors, musicians, whatever fits a startup. And it basically allows startups to partner with the best, most recognizable faces without spending cash. And on the other hand, it allows these influential people to earn equity in the companies they help grow. And because of that, I've built like a large network of celebrities and creators and their teams. And what was interesting was that a lot of them started to approach me over the last couple of months and said, "Hey, Scott, big fan of what you do with Influencer Capital. However, I already started my own company or I already did an equity deal with a startup. So I'm not necessarily looking for the services that you apply to Influencer Capital, but we're looking for funding and we'd love to have you as an angel investor in the company." So I thought it was super interesting. So over the last couple of months, I started to make angel investments in the brands of people like Selena Gomez, DJ Khaled, Jake Paul, just to mention a few. And slowly, a lot of people in my network started to reach out and said, "Hey, Scott, this is super interesting. I have money, but I don't have access to these deals. Is there basically a way that I can co-invest with you?" So I set up a little angel syndicate called Celeb that basically allowed individuals in my network to co-invest with me in brands that are founded by celebrities and creators. And right now, we really want to institutionalize that by raising a fund so that we can double down on our access and expertise and write larger tickets into brands that are founded by celebrities and creators.
Absolutely. There's a very interesting space, and there's a very interesting shift that I observed in what you said. That firstly, influencers or creators were investing into other brands or maybe advertising them and taking equity stakes, but now what they're doing is starting their own brands. Have you observed that shift? And if you could give any example of that in practice, that this person was earlier investing into other startups and now thought, okay, now I will start my own thing.
Yeah, so many like you've seen like celebrities like a Kevin Hart. He has like invested in so many brands, and now he's building his own. You see people like a Serena Williams. She has like her own VC fund, but she actually also just launched her own beauty brand. You have so many Kim Kardashian. She's launching her own private equity fund, but at the same time she also launched Skims, one of the most successful celebrity founded brands. So you see that all these celebrities, besides them investing, they're also thinking about launching their own companies.
Absolutely, and what I'm excited about is these celebrities also starting investment firms, right? A private equity firm, and why is that? Because what the general thought is that influencers would start consumer-facing companies, consumer brands, daily goods, or something like that. But why are they focusing on the investment space? I know it's a lucrative space, but why are they going into that?
Well, I think it has to do with two things. To become successful as a VC, you kind of need two things, and that's access, and that's also a value add. Like, why do they pick you? So access, like they can just promote this on their to their millions of fans, which basically is going to result in a lot of inbound deal flow. And they're also very connected in the space, so that just leads to a bunch of deal flow. And if you have the best deal flow, you can make the best investments. But at the same time, they can also be a value add because besides writing a $1 million check, they can also tell the startup like, hey, we're going to actually promote your brand on our social media platforms for free. That's something that we add value to. So if the startup, let's say it's a hard deal, and they have two VC funds that kind of are offering 1 million on the same terms, but the one VC fund is from a celebrity that's also going to promote the brand on their social media channel, it's a no-brainer for a startup to choose that VC fund over a traditional VC fund. So yeah, that's I think the reason why a lot of these celebrities are thinking about starting their own VC fund.
Absolutely, that makes complete sense. And I see in your background there are some products that are on the rack. Are all those like celebrity led? I identify one or two, but you can tell me more.
Yeah, 100%. So to the left we have like Prime, and that's obviously from Logan Paul and KSI. You have like Tingly Tats, which is like a hot sauce brand of Ed Sheeran. On the this side, you have more of like the liquor brands. So you have the Aviation Gin, which is from Ryan Reynolds, from Casamigos from George Clooney. This up top here is from like a Victoria's Secret model. So yeah, there's so many celebrities right now launching their own consumer product goods.
Absolutely, that's very interesting. And so let's talk about this. What are the unique advantages that celebrity founded brands that they have over traditional startups? What's different about them? What's their edge?
Yeah, let's start with the most obvious one, and that's that they have a built-in audience. So celebrities, they have access to millions of fans, and they can basically drive near instant traction to their companies by simply posting on social media. And this is something that traditional brands have to pay millions of dollars for. And it has already resulted in companies like Casamigos, Fenty, Prime, Feastables reaching unprecedented growth that traditional brands have never seen before. In just a very short time, they're able to compete with legacy brands, and that's all because of the ability to put eyeballs on their companies for free. But in addition to that, there's also a lot of other benefits, like these celebrity brands, they can get into retail on day one. Like a Walmart and a Target, they would love to partner up with these celebrity brands because they know that's going to drive traffic to their stores as well. Whereas a traditional startup, it's going to take them years before they're able to get into the Walmarts and the Targets and that type of stuff. And in addition to that, it can help with like PR because journalists love to cover news about celebrities. So that yeah helps again also with boosting the company. It can help with raising more capital. So yeah, beyond just building audience, there are so many other advantages that these celebrity founded brands have.
Absolutely. And let's talk about access. So you said you have had access to these celebrities, these creators. Was that because of the influencer capital uh, firm that you were running, where you were connecting influencers to startups? Or is there some other way to get access to these celebrities so that these deals come to you first?
Yeah, so it definitely has to do with influencer capital. So for the last 4 years, I've obviously been building my company and I've showcased to these celebrities that I can add value. So yeah, we already have long working relationships so that nowadays when they are launching a company, I'm often one of the first persons that they reach out to. But in addition to that, like although I'm a solo GP, I've onboarded a team of venture partners who have co-founded some of the most successful celebrity founded brands. So one of them co-founded Feastables, the chocolate bar company of Mr. Beast, that did $400 million in revenue in its second year. Another one co-founded the Honest Company together with Jessica Alba in 2012. Eventually made an IPO in 2021. One of the only celebrity brands that ever made an IPO. So they have come on board as venture partners to be helpful to our portfolio companies. So we just want to be more than just a check, and we like to think of ourselves as a value add. But through their network, we are able to get in touch with a lot of other celebrity brands as well, because they're asking for advice to my venture partners, who are then referring them to my company. So yeah, that's kind of how we have access, a unique access in the space.
Great. That's amazing value add there on any celebrity who wants to start a company. Then let's talk about how do you assess and evaluate these deals that when they come to you, what are the things you're evaluating for to decide if it's a good investment or not?
Yeah, so we have a couple criteria. I think our most important criteria is called the celebrity product market fit. And this basically means is that does the brand that the celebrity is launching, does it fit with the personality of the celebrity? Does it fit with the content of the celebrity? And does it also fit with the audience of the celebrity? So let me actually illustrate this with a good and a bad example. We will start with the bad example. So there's a model called Emily Ratajkowski, Emirata. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she has like 30 million followers. She often posts beautiful pictures of herself, often also in swimwear. So she thought, hey, this is resonating well with my audience, and I'm always wearing bikinis. Why don't I launch a swimwear line? So she launched Inamarata, selling female swimwear. So at first you would say, hey, that's actually a great fit because she's always wearing bikinis. Her content is about bikinis, and it helped her gain her audience. But then she found out that most of her audience are males. And males are not following her for the latest tips on swimwear, and they're also not buying female swimwear. They have different reasons for following her. So you see that there's a mismatch between the audience and actually the product that she's selling, even though she has 30 million followers. And then you actually look at someone like a Danny Austin. She's a lifestyle influencer that has like 2 million subscribers on YouTube. She started to experience hair loss due to stress, and that actually made her very insecure. So she wanted to stop with content creation, but then she thought like, hey, I've been very open about to my community about everything that happened in my life. Why am I actually shy about this? So she actually started to talk about her hair loss online. She started to do like wig reviews, and tens of thousands of women replied with, "Thank you so much for this content. Like I've been experiencing this myself, but I had no one to talk to about this." And then she was like, "Whoa, this is resonating well." And then she wanted to go one step further, and she created like a hair serum which helps you with hair loss. It's called DV Hair. In its first year, it did $40 million in sales. In its second year, it did close to $60 million in sales. So just showcase that even though Emirata had like 15 times more followers, that brand was not 15 times as successful. In fact, DV Hair was 15 times more successful than in Emirata, because it was the great fit between the celebrity product market fit, as we say. So that's our most important criteria. But we also look at other factors like the celebrity ownership. So what type of celebrity ownership are we talking about? Because we have seen that there's a direct correlation between how much equity a celebrity has and how much successful the company actually is. Because yeah, if they have more skin in the game, they want to make it a bigger success, obviously. Then we also look at, is the brand run as an independent brand? And that basically means is that the brand should not be depending too much on a celebrity. So that means that there should also be other marketing initiatives in place, but it also should mean that the product should be on par or actually exceeding products of competitors, because the celebrity might be able to help you sell the first product due to their marketing capabilities, but the quality of the product is going to decide for a consumer if they're going to buy a second, third, or fourth product. And then the last criteria we look at is the team. So it's great to have the largest or the best celebrity on board, but if you don't have a team that is actually experienced in operating a brand, you're not gonna be successful, because yeah, the celebrity is not gonna be operating the brand. They're more like the face of the brand, and they focus on what they do well.
Yes, absolutely. Very interesting case studies that you shared, very insightful. So, the first one that you shared, does that also mean that as an investor, when you're investing in celebrity led brands, it becomes important to go into the details of what the audience actually looks like, what's the composition, what are the engagement metrics, what are the geographies, what are the genders, all those sorts of things, and what are the maybe even their income range, how much are they making to be able to afford that product or not. So is that also part of the evaluation process?
Yeah, 100%. Like, let's say you're a young TikToker who's like 18 years old and your audience is also very young. It doesn't make sense to launch a luxury fashion line because your audience doesn't have the money to pay like a expensive bag for 1,000 euros. Maybe it would be much better to focus on a cheaper price point product, you know? So we always make these analyses indeed where we look at the demographics of their audience and see if that's actually matching with the audience of the brand.
Absolutely amazing. And like you said, even though it's a celebrity-led brand, it is still a brand and still a business that has to stand on its own. So how do you see in the industry, are the how much of an engagement do celebrities actually have in the brands that they're running? At the initial stages, do they already have a team in place to do all the things, or as investors, do you have to advise them that okay, there's a good product, this is well aligned, but we think that you would need a good team to build this up for you, or how is it actually happening in the real world? Maybe Selena Gomez brand, Kylie Jenner's brand, Jake Paul's brand, how are they run? Do they have like proper teams in place for doing all the things like a normal business does, and a CEO in place, which is different from the celebrity? So tell me more about that.
Yes and no. So you kind of have three buckets. So one is the celebrity has an ID and they want to execute on this. They onboard their own team or they work together with their agency to create their own team. Then they already have kind of the plans ready and then they approach me. This would be the case for a Skims from Kim Kardashian or a Rare Beauty of Selena Gomez, where they have like a 50% equity stake in these companies because they're really the co-founder or the founder of the company. But then you also sometimes have celebrities that are approaching me and telling me like, "Hey, I'm thinking about launching this brand, but I don't have the right team. Scott, are you able to connect me to people that are interested in helping me launch this company?" So then I help them find the right operating partners and see if I'm interested in investing. And then there's a third bracket, which actually has to do with my experience from Influencer Capital. There's actually a lot of great consumer startups that are building real innovative things, but they don't have a celebrity co-founder yet, but maybe they could be benefiting from that. So we are helping that type of startups to help them onboard a celebrity co-founder in an equity deal, and that's obviously through my experience at Influencer Capital. And then afterwards, also make an investment in those companies.
Right. That's very interesting. Thanks for sharing that. What would you say are the key risks that are associated with investing in celebrity led brands?
Yeah, so they call it the key man risk, and that is actually that a company becomes too dependent on an individual celebrity. So let me give you two examples. So let's say you're working together with an actor, and that actor has to shoot a movie for the next 2 months in Hollywood. Then that actor is not as available as before. So you don't want to see spikes in your sales every time that person is out. You want to make sure that the brand is stably growing. But if it's too dependent on a celebrity, then it kind of have your key man risk. Another one is let's say the celebrity is negatively in the news. So a great example of this is actually one of the most successful celebrity founded brands, but also at the same time one of the biggest failures. So in 2013, Adidas decided to partner up with Kanye West to launch Yeezy. And at some point, Yeezy, like Yeezy is a streetwear brand. At some point, Yeezy was generating $2 billion in revenue per year. And to put that into perspective, that was 7% of Adidas total revenue. 7%. And then a lot of things happened, but I think the reason why they eventually split up was Kanye West in an interview said a lot of anti-Semitic things, and Adidas wanted to distance themselves from him as a person, so they stopped the contract and stopped with GC. But at some point, that was a brand generating $2 billion in revenue. So yeah, that showcased that if you're relying too much on one person, and that person says something in the news, or that person is drinking and driving, or does something stupid, that is going to affect your company.
Absolutely, completely agree. There has to be like complete value alignment on that front, because it's almost as if it's the face of a brand, and if the face of a brand is involved in something wrong or says something wrong that doesn't go well with people, then it can affect the business. So have to be very careful there. Awesome. So let's talk about some of the examples of celebrity founded brands. We have talked about a few, but if you'd like to share some case studies of how they started, and how they have panned out over the years, and even some of the failure stories, if you want to share that they were started by a amazing celebrity but didn't pan out as they expected. So would love that.
Yeah, I can start with some success stories and then talk about some failures. But yeah, success stories. You're looking at Prime. So yeah, a beverage company founded by two YouTubers, Logan Paul and KSI. In the first year, they did $250 million in revenue, and in the second year, they did $1.2 billion in revenue. It was the fastest growing beverage company ever. Another example is Skims, the apparel company of Kim Kardashian. In its first 5 year, now in the fifth year, they did $750 million in revenue. They're now looking to IPO at a $4 billion valuation. So these companies are able to scale much faster than any other traditional consumer brand has ever done. Another great example is Selena Gomez Rare Beauty, currently valued at $2 billion, of which she owns 50%, immediately making her a billionaire. But what is interesting about that statistic is that it actually makes up 81% of her total net worth. So although she got her influence from acting and singing and performing, that was not what brought her the most wealth. What brought her the most wealth is that actually she used that influence to build a company on top of that. And that's actually now generating 81% of her total wealth. Another great example similar to this is Roger Federer. He's like a tennis player, one of the best tennis players ever, won like 20 Grand Slams. And during his 21-year professional career, he earned a little bit over $100 million. Towards the end of his career, he did an equity deal with footwear brand On. And On wasn't really a startup anymore, it was more like a scale up. But he received like a 3% equity stake in exchange for helping with product development, fan experiences, and marketing. 3 years later, that 3% is worth $300 million, three times as much as what he earned from playing tennis and what gave him the influence to do this equity deal in the first place. So yeah, there's so many stories like this. Behind me, you see like Casamigos that was founded by George Clooney in 2013, one of the first celebrity founded brands. Within 4 years, they sold it to Diageo for $1 billion. So yeah, there's so many examples of these celebrity founded brands scaling much rapidly than a traditional brand. And what's interesting about this is that these are not going to be the less successful celebrity founded brands. Every celebrity is now thinking about launching their own brand after seeing the successes of their peers. And that's why basically with Hotstart, we want basically to be the destination they come to for funding. So that's more on the successes side. Let's talk about some failures because we only hear about often these successes, but for every success, there's still like 100 failures, even though they have celebrity co-founders. We already talked about GC. Another one that actually last week closest was Kevin Hart's Heart House. This was like a vegan restaurant chain. He had like 6 locations open, but he found out that the demand for vegan fast food wasn't that high, especially at price points double the price point of an In-N-Out or a Burger King or a McDonald's. Another one is Hello Bello. This was like an affordable baby product line that was founded by Dak Shepard and Kristen Bell. At some point, this was doing $100 million in sales, but they were focusing on affordability, and all the prices were increasing, also the prices for their supply chain. So they weren't able to afford those prices anymore and eventually went bankrupt. And then the last example that I'll mention is Dylan LeMay. So he's an ice cream content creator, one of the largest ice cream content creators in the world. And he thought, why don't I actually launch my own ice cream store in the middle of New York? So he raised like $1.5 million for this. He launched his own store, and then COVID happened. So no people were able to come to his store anymore. So you see that although they had celebrity co-founders, this was not enough. These brands still need product market fit. And sometimes they also find out that or they have to pivot. Not a lot of them are doing this successfully. Or you see that market conditions, like with the Hello Bello or with the Dylan LeMay, they're changing their value proposition. So it's a very interesting time, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they will be successful from the get-go, even though they have a celebrity on board.
Absolutely, that's very interesting. And one important point you shared about Selena Gomez, that how she earned most of her wealth with the business that she's running, and I think that's the case with quite a few of the celebrity-led brands. I think Ronald's is another one that made most of his wealth in the business space, and not from what he's done most of his life, right? So that's a very interesting thing, that even though creators are doing a lot of things and they are more visible and they're popular, it still doesn't pay as much as running a business would, or investing in a business would. And I think that is what is the appeal of now creators and influencers starting to do this more and more, because they know that that's where the real money is made. They have that edge or the advantage of having that audience already built out. Now they can put a business on top of it, and that can make most of their life's earnings basically for them. Because I know that it was recently, I think just the past year or this year, about Taylor Swift, right? She has been on tour for so long, and all her tours at the Era Store, they've all been so successful, mostly sold out, right? And there is huge frenzy around her, and so many reels, whether you scroll Instagram, TikTok, or whatever. But it was only last year or earlier this year that there was a news that Taylor Swift just turned a billionaire, right? And I was kind of shocked that she's such a big celebrity, amazing singer, has such a big cult, but it is only now that she's becoming a billionaire, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's yeah.
Even if you look at someone like a Rihanna, so Rihanna, her net worth is 1.7 billion, of which 1.4 billion came from her company Fenty. So if she wasn't like launching Fenty, her net worth would only be like $300 million, even though she is the biggest star in the world. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Absolutely, that's crazy. Let's now talk about in what type of celebrity founded brands do you like to invest in?
Yeah, so we typically invest in everything that's related to consumer. We're kind of sector agnostic. What's also interesting to mention is that a lot of people, when they're thinking about celebrity brands, it often comes back to like an apparel company, a beauty brand, a liquor company, but that's not the case anymore. So I always like to talk about wave one and wave two. So wave one was really focusing on superb products in oversaturated markets. So those are the beauty products and the apparel companies and the liquor brands. There's so many celebrity tequila brands nowadays. Oftentimes it was also just a white label product and they were just slapping their names on it. But nowadays you see a second wave, creators being involved, like celebrities being involved. They're building innovative companies solving real customer problems that also involves like technologies. It involves like patented products or whatsoever. I think last year there was one Disney actress who built like a space tech company. So we like to invest in that type of innovative companies in like white spaces. We are not very interested in investing in the next celebrity tequila brand or whatsoever.
Absolutely, that's very interesting. So, have you seen any kind of, okay, there was a wave one or generation one of celebrity brands that are not done with? Those can be maybe skincare brands, makeup brands, or alcohol brands. And now there is kind of a generation two of brands that needs to come up, that are not focusing on those areas but different areas. That those can be like one of the things we discussed is about hair growth, or hair loss, right? Problems like those, and catering to those kind of markets. So is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, 100%. So solving customer problems, like respectively, but we don't need a new celebrity liquor brand or we don't need another celebrity beauty brand. There are already so many in the markets, right? So I think for a company to be successful, you need to solve a problem, and you need to be appealing to a customer. So that should come first. The celebrity should never come first. The problem should always come first. And it's great to have a celebrity, but if you're not solving a problem, you're never going to be successful. And that's also what makes us interesting is that we are not only looking at celebrity founded brands, but we're looking at all types of consumer brands and are also thinking like, hey, this is a very innovative consumer startups. They don't have a celebrity on board yet, but can we help them onboard a celebrity co-founder and then also invest in their companies? So that exposes us to so many more startups, and also showcase our value add. This is something that we can, yeah, be a value add to these startups as well.
Absolutely, that's amazing. And when you're dealing with celebrities, let's say a promising consumer startup, you want to connect them to a celebrity that kind of has content in the same space or audience in the same space. How does that kind of arrangement happen? And what kind of equity do celebrities ask for in that case? That okay, if we have to be associated with this brand, we need this much equity. Is that always like 50-50 share, or is that up for negotiation?
Yeah, so it depends on many factors. It obviously has to do with the stage of the company. So if we're talking about a pre-seed startups versus a Series B startup, obviously the pre-seed startup has to give up more equity than a Series B company. But it also has to do with the type of celebrity. So are you aiming for a Ryan Reynolds or George Clooney, or are you aiming for an influencer that has 1 million followers? Obviously, the equity stake also differs there. It also depends on the role that they have. So are they coming on board as a co-founder, or are they more being like an ambassador for like a 1 or 2 year period? So we've seen equity deals all the way from a 1% equity stake up to a 50% equity stake. And it really just depends on the relationship that we have. But I think what's also important is that there has to be a lot of education in the space, because a lot of these celebrities and influencers and their teams, actually, their management teams, they don't understand these types of proposals. I just mentioned the example of on running with Roger Federer. Even though he only had like a 3% equity stake, that is now valued at $300 million. But if you now reach out to an influencer and you say, hey, we want to give you a 3% equity stake to help me grow this company, a lot of them are like, nah, I'm not going to work for a 3% equity stake, because they don't understand what the value of that 3% is, you know? So you need a lot of education. You need actually a lot of people that have a background in VC, educating them on what is a good deal, what is the stage of the company, what is that actually equity actually worth, and what are the growth projections of this company.
Right, absolutely. And in that engagement with a celebrity and a business, so the celebrity cannot promote a brand or a product all the time. Of course, it cannot be overbearing, right? It has to be at a certain frequency, it can show up now and then. Can it ever happen that a celebrity promoting a brand is not working out? It's not showing in the metrics, that the metrics aren't moving when the celebrity is posting, right? What happens in that case? Can you disassociate with the celebrity at that point, that you think that okay, now because the value add was kind of limited to them providing that reach and reach in that audience, but if that's not showing any impact anymore, what happens then? Do they still tag along, or is there a way to detach?
Yeah, it depends on how the deal is structured. So I always compare it to like a marriage. Like if you start to date, you're also not gonna marry on day one. So you really have to learn, get to know the celebrity, and maybe you can do some tests. So maybe you have to pay the celebrity first 1 or 2 times to promote the company, and then you see if it's actually working, and then you can see if a deeper alignment makes sense. So these deals where someone comes on board as a co-founder, you shouldn't decide this over one call. You know, this is something that takes months of getting to know each other, seeing if this is fitting within the celebrity's life, but also with the content of the celebrity, also with the audience of the celebrity. So these are all things that you have to take into consideration. And then also it comes back to how you structure this agreement. You always, in my opinion, you should structure it with like a vesting schedule, so that if it's not working out, you can stop it after a certain period. So let's say you're granting someone a 10% equity stake. Maybe you can split that in over like 4 years, and that every year only 2.5% is being allocated to talent. And then let's say after 1 year you see that's not working, then maybe you can stop the contract, you know. So, and that also goes for the celebrity, by the way. You know, you just have to make sure that there's a contract in place that talks about all these types of stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Vesting is a good idea to solve that problem. Awesome. Let's now talk about how do you evaluate the involvement and the commitment level of a celebrity in the brand operations?
Yeah, so obviously with my work at Influencer Capital, I've looked at hundreds of these types of deals. Also with my team, we have looked at hundreds of these types of deals. So we kind of build our own framework uh, based on what we have seen work and what we have seen doesn't work. Um, you kind of can read like the contracts and see, okay, what type of obligations do you have, and quickly understand if it's very transactional relationship, where you see, okay, this person has to post 2 times per month, this person has to show up to 3 calls, then it feels very transactional. And then let's say the brand is already live, you can actually look back and see, did the celebrity actually do this? Let's say they did the bare minimum, they just posted 2 times and that's it. Then you know, hey, this celebrity is not really keen on making this a success. Because if they were keen, they would have been promoting the brand 4, 5, 6 times and go above and beyond what the contract says. So you quickly feel kind of if they really care about the brand or not. As what I mentioned in the beginning as well, is that we always look at the celebrity ownership. Like we've seen a direct correlation between the higher the equity stake of the celebrity, the more successful the company is. That's why in the rare beauties and the skims, these celebrities have a 50% equity stake because they're really incentivized to make it a success instead of them having like a 1 or 2% equity stake in a very early stage company. They don't care if it's not going to be successful or not because the payout for them is also only a 1 or 2% of the success. So that is really important. But then also it goes back to the authenticity. So we want to understand what drove the celebrity to launch this company or what drove them to do an equity deal with a specific startup. If they, let's say, Diffie Hair was an equity deal. And let's say this came really authentic where she told her story about hair loss and she want to, and it made her felt insecure and she didn't want to go out anymore and she want to encourage women to not feel like that. So that feels very authentic. Whereas a celebrity can also approach me and say, "Hey, we're gonna sell thousands of this tequila and we're gonna make this type of money, and then in 2 years we're gonna sell it." Then it doesn't really feel authentic to me. It's more like a cash grab for me. So yeah, you can quickly feel by listening to the reasons for a celebrity to do something if it's authentic or not.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. Now, let's talk about some strategies that you would recommend for leveraging a celebrity's influence to drive brand growth.
Yeah, so obviously it has to do with marketing. So promoting the brand on their social media, but it can also be other types of marketing. So can they, for example, help you with influencer marketing? We call this celebrity friends with benefits. So a lot of celebrities also have celebrity friends, and friends like to support friends. So what if these celebrities actually send these types of products, their products, to their celebrity friends, who in exchange also promote the brand for free? It can also help with PR. Like as mentioned, journalists love to cover news about celebrities. So as a new startup, it's really hard for you to get an interview with Forbes or with Business Insider, but a celebrity can get that interview immediately. So can they also do like interviews or podcasts or whatsoever to help, yeah, gain brand awareness for the brand? But it can also help you with retail. So not only can it help you get on the shelves, but it can also help you get more flexible payment terms. So what is really annoying for a lot of CPG brands is that when they get into retail, there's like a 90-day period when they get paid. And celebrity brands have a lot of leverage and they can say, okay, Walmart, we want to have a 15-day period of payment because if you're not saying yes to that, we're going to Target and we're going to let them have the exclusivity to launch the brand in their businesses instead of in Walmart. So you have a lot of leverage on that end as well. It can help with fundraising. They always have networks of high net worth individual people who are like interested in investing. It can help drive like FOMO, which is definitely needed in this market where capital is a little bit strict. So yeah, there's so many other ways how you can leverage celebrities to grow your brand.
Absolutely. Very interesting to learn. And my last main question before you go for the rapid fire round, and this is why should the celebrities who are starting their brands come to you as an investor? What do you provide them that's different from other investors?
Yeah, so we already talked a little bit about helping them onboard a celebrity co-founder. So let's say they didn't have a celebrity on board yet, we can help with that. I think if they already have a celebrity on board, my team consists of people that have co-founded some of the most successful celebrity founded brands. So we are available to our portfolio companies, sharing our learnings, working with celebrities to turn their companies into billion-dollar brands. That's a real value add that other VCs cannot offer. We are also solely focused on these types of celebrity founded brands, whereas like a lot of consumer VCs, they might only have 1 or 2 of these celebrity founded brands in their portfolio. And there could also be a lot of cross collaboration between these two brands. Let's say Prime, what you actually see happening now, Feastables of Mr. Beast partnered up with Prime to launch like Lunchly. And it basically combines like two target audiences. So what if we can actually help our portfolio companies create that type of synergies together? And then the last thing I would say is that we can help raise more capital. As I mentioned before, like this all started with an angel syndicate, and we still have that angel syndicate available. So although we are going to be focusing on the fund, let's say we make our initial ticket from the fund, we can help raise more capital through the angel syndicate.
Absolutely. That's amazing. So now let's go to the rapid fire round, and I'll ask you six quick questions about the investing you're doing, and
Yep.
you have to give six quick answers, right? So the first one is, what are the sectors and regions you invest in?
Yeah, we're sector agnostic. We invest in all types of consumer brands, and we invest in the United States. That's the market we know best and where we can add the most value.
Right, awesome. What's the typical stage of investment?
Pre-seed and seed. So we like to be the first outside the check that they're raising.
Awesome. Do you lead rounds?
Yes, we do.
Great. What's the typical check size you put in?
Up to $500,000.
Awesome. Where can celebrities or founders get in touch?
So yeah, they can reach out to me at Scott at Hotstart VC. But what is also interesting is that they can start following me on LinkedIn. I create daily content about celebrity founded brands. I think that's also how we originally connected. Yeah, I can definitely recommend them to follow me there as well.
Absolutely. Great content on Scott's LinkedIn, and everyone should go follow him. And my last one is again, where can listeners follow you? It's LinkedIn, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah,
Got it. Got it. Awesome. I'll make sure to put all those links in the show notes below. Thanks so much for making time for this, Scott. It's been a long time in making. I've been chasing you to do this because I'm personally very excited about this space and this opportunity that you're targeting, and especially celebrities starting brands, which everyone is seeing more of. Everyone is seeing celebrities promoting new products consistently, which means they kind of have equity in that product, and that's happening more often, will happen more often in future. So thanks so much for discussing that with us and giving us a good insight into what's happening there. I wish you happy investing. Thank you.
of course. I appreciate you having me.
Pleasure.